want to begin by stating that still very disappointed in the outcome from Saturday, but proud of our players and how hard they competed and played, and seeing growth continually on both sides of the ball and in special teams. And just as we reminded our team today, as we discussed the game and talked about situations and opportunities and just the critical nature of playing a team of that caliber in that setting, and to be able to maximize execution on both sides of the ball and at critical times. And that's became apparent, giving up some big plays on defense when we had an opportunity to get stops, and then offensively when we have opportunities to change the momentum and take the game and be able to do those things, we have to capitalize. And we talked about those very specifically, and want our team to grow and learn and understand what we need to do. So, like the mindset of our team, had a great practice today, a very, very good workout with Coach Blue and his staff, and continuing to grow and move forward. So, players of the game, Nick Westbrook was the offensive player of the game, 5 catches, 109 yards. Really felt like this was kind of his kind of coming out game after he's been back. He's played well, but very much more productive in this game than he's been, just making big catches and just playing the way I know he can. And that's just great for his confidence, and really excited for him. Many other guys in that receiver corps continue to make plays. And I thought also Peyton Ramsey continues to play with tremendous grit and toughness and execution. So defensively, Damian Willis, really encouraged by his growth. He had led our team in tackles, and I just thought his leadership and preparation all week and the way he rallied the team and on the sideline, and those are the things I look for, and the way he talks to his teammates and just him growing. And I think Raekwon did some good things as well, and his leadership is definitely being accelerated. And as I tell those linebackers, boy, it's about production and leadership at that position. So seeing that growth there. And special teams, really kind of really encouraged by the missed field goal was a big miss on our part and hurt us. But as overall, very dangerous team in the return games. And so our kickoff coverage, the kickoffs themselves, the quality of those kicks was excellent. And then the punts, pinning them down inside the 5 was huge. And so we really went with the 3 guys, Isaac James, Raheem Lane, and Jalen Williams. They're our corners, we call them, on our cover units on punt, and our score team, which is our punt return unit, the controllers, we call those guys. And so just being able to, block their speed and athleticism on the perimeter, on the score team, down in the punt there inside. And Isaac James did a tremendous job of that. And Micah McFadden was the one who recovered it and downed it officially, but Isaac's the one that did his job. And so that set up a great opportunity for our defense, and defense took advantage of it and forced a muff punt. And we got the ball on the 33-yard line with 38 seconds to go in the third quarter. Really felt like that was a game-changing opportunity for us, down by 9, and did not execute offensively in order for us to take advantage of that, and then missed a long field goal. So just things like that in the course of a game. As we know, there are intervals in a game when games shift and opportunities arise, and you have to be able to take advantage of those, and that's what we need to do to move forward and to be able to find ourselves in a different outcome in games like that. In terms of our preparation, the offensive scout team player of the week, we had 2 of them, and Ryan Smith and guy by the name of Tater. That's his nickname, so that's what we call him, and that's what he goes by. So put that down because that's what everybody knows him as. So Tater Tot's his nickname, but he's a big old guy that we love him, and you can figure out his name. You look it up. So just ask our players; they'll tell you. Jeremy Boyd, James Miller, defensive scout players of the week. Love the effort from the defense and what they're giving our offense. And then special teams player of the week, Aaron Casey, a linebacker that's developing and working extremely hard, and another true freshman in that group that's growing every single day. So love our class that we brought in here as freshmen. They're working extremely hard. The ones that aren't getting to play on Saturdays are doing a great job preparing our team, working hard in the weight room, getting bigger, faster, stronger each and every day. And that's a huge part of our future. So bottom line is, no matter what happens on game day, you have to, in this league, you got a next one coming. So we got a great opportunity, great challenge ahead of us. with the Iowa Hawkeyes coming to Bloomington this weekend. A very well-coached football team, very big and physical, everything you expect from an Iowa football team, great defense, especially in the box. Defensive line's long, big, strong, and they really are very stingy. Don't give up a lot of big plays. Very, very disciplined. Offensively, they've really expanded their passing game. Stanley's a great quarterback, big, physical, 6'4", 6'5", 245-pound guy. Physical backs, big offensive line, best tight end core we've gone against. Very, very talented tight ends and receivers that are making more and more plays each week. So they got a big win last week on the road and did a lot of different things to get that win. And so going to be a great challenge for us, and welcome Coach Ferentz and his staff to Bloomington. I know they're always do a great job. So that's where we're at. Questions?
Sorry to open with something so direct, but who is Tater?
Yes, Dominic Altamara, a.k.a. Tater. Matter of fact, when I announced him today to the team, I just said Tater. I said, you know, you got to be a special guy when you got a one-name nickname, and that's all that has to be said. I said, I don't even have a one-name nickname that they know me as. I got two names, but Tater's just got one. He's from St. Xavier in Cincinnati. Excuse me? Mine? Coach Allen. There you
go. Coach, talked a lot about what Jason's done as the punt returner coming back from the injury, but the last 2 weeks without Wap and Luke, I think he's had his career high in receptions the last 2 weeks. How big has he been to kind of fill that void with those two guys out as a receiver in that slot position?
I don't think I can say I can put enough of an emphasis of how big he has been in that role. You know, when you tell me you're not going to have Wap and Luke against, you know, two Big Ten opponents on the road, that's tough, you know. And then you think about the role that those guys play and how many catches they make. And, you know, shoot, when you talk to Coach Meyer, he's the one guy that he mentioned, besides our quarterback, was number 22, you know. So I just think that for Jayshon to come in there and to do such a great job in that role, you know, because I think it's one thing to say, hey, you're going to return punts and be able to get ready for that, and what that means is huge for our team. But the pounding and the constant hits, all the things you take as a receiver, and so, you know, just for him to be able to do that and to be so productive and make so many big plays, it's been big. But you know, that's just the kind of guy he is, and he's rallied and he's stepped up, and I just think that he's really helped our team, you know, and we needed him, and other receivers have as well. But you know, hoping to get those guys back as soon as possible. But I'm really proud of him and the way he's just doing everything he can do to help this team win.
You're at, I think, 13 turnovers overall. I know at least one of those has come on special teams, but that's as many as I think you had last year. Mm-hmm. It's tracking to be more than you had in your first year as defensive coordinator. I know you talk so much about that, but are there things maybe you can identify? Specifically, I think it's like 8 in the three Big Ten games so far that you could say these are the keys that are allowing us to be this prolific, creating those takeaways? Well,
it starts back into you know, one thing that we really did, and you know, it's on me for not making it as much of a priority. You know, we didn't emphasize it any different in the past, but I do think this fall camp, I got back to really attacking the ball in practice, and this is what you run into when you try to emphasize those, especially when you're going against your own team as fall camp is unfolding. You know, you don't want it to injure your offensive guys as you're raking at the ball, punching at the ball, especially a lot of times you're in shells or whatever tempo you're going. And it can be very, you know, sometimes it results in, you know, guys getting in fights. And I was at a pro practice while I was watching the Bears practice when I was up there for media day, and the same thing happened there, and it all because the guy was trying to rake at the ball and threw the receiver on the ground, and it turned up into. So you get that kind of dynamic where you're trying to emphasize one thing on one side of the ball and not, you know, do anything negative to your own team. And so, but we just said, you know what, we gotta get back to doing that, you know. And so we were much more aggressive with that in fall camp with our guys, because we just felt like we, you know, didn't get enough takeaways the year before. So I know the first takeaway we got of the year was Jonathan Crawford down there at FIU raking at the football, you know, and so to me it was just a direct reflection of that emphasis. And then to me the second step of it is, you know, providing pressure, hitting quarterbacks. You know, I think we have a more athletic defense as a group, And I said that going in. I felt like we were going to be. And I think when you have a more athletic group, you create more takeaways. Because, number one, you get to the ball quicker to force them, and you're around the ball more to recover them. And a lot of times it felt like last year were just balls that were just right there that we just didn't quite, whether it was a fumble we didn't quite get or a pick we didn't quite secure or whatever. So we worked really, really hard on catching balls. We just got to keep doing that. We still dropped one a week ago. I thought it was a pick six opportunity, so you can't do that. But we caught the ones we were supposed to on Saturday. So I just think it's a collective group. I mean, I emphasize it since I've ever coached this game on defense. I've been such a huge takeaway guy. So I believe in it so strongly. And so sometimes they come more than they do others. I get that. But at the same time, we sure make a big deal about it. And we make videos about it, and we talk about it. We made a whole video from fall camp and all the takeaway attempts that we had and all the takeaways that we created. And so we got to keep doing it. It's a big part of, being a young defense and trying to create field position for our offense and those kind of things. And we got to take advantage of those as a team. And that's what we do as a program.
Coach, you're at the midway point of the season. What did you learn about your team during the first half of the year, and what do you hope the biggest lesson they took away from the first half that'll help them in the second half?
Well, I think that when you kind of go through and you break it down in components and different games, and when you have a young team and you have a team that's trying to figure things out, you go through the first half of your season. There's certain games that certain sides of the ball draw confidence from, no matter what the outcome is. And I think we've seen both of that, where offensively we've had a chance to do some good things at times and draw confidence from that, and defensively grow and develop and draw confidence from that, and our special teams continues to get better and better. I think that, I was concerned in the beginning about us stopping the run, defensively, and that's continued to grow and improve, and played against a very good, running offense, and that's Ohio State's prime objective is to run the football first. I know they have all these athletes that they try to get the ball within space. I get that, but to hold them to 3.2 yards a carry and 48 attempts, and is a big step for us. And then being able to establish the run game and do things we need to do and throw the ball down the field more offensively, and seeing us do things like that. So to me, you kind of get both sides have shown spurts of that. And it's all about coming. The last half of the season now is about bringing those two together and playing your best collective football, offensively, defensively, and special teams. All three phases working together to create the kind of outcome that we want. So to me, I think what I've seen is segments come, segments shine, segments need work, and then let's get all three of those together working in unison to create a team win.
Coach, you alluded to it after the Ohio State game the other day about Haskins and about making him uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And can you just talk about what you need to do to get more defensive pressure up front to make these quarterbacks
There's no question.
uncomfortable?
I mean, and that's the key. And I don't care what quarterback it is and how talented he is, because he's a great quarterback. But pressure affects everybody, and getting someone in their face and making them move around. And it's like I said, it's not just it's even hits. It's movement. It's don't let him get his feet set and be able to have a direct line of sight to his receivers, getting people in those windows, getting people in his space, move him, tackle him, hit him. And so, you gotta, it's the two-edged sword of you do that with blitzes, okay? And you can't blitz every snap. And so, you try to change it up and try and get pressure with 4 at times, sometimes 3 with a spy, or however you decide to make that combination work. And we're working so hard to try, because you see it when we get the pressure, you get a different result when you got time. And a lot of quarterbacks are really good when they got time, especially at this level. They're all going to be good if they have time, in my opinion. So, the guy this week's no different, and so even the guys that aren't true runners, these guys are athletic enough to get first downs or escape a little bit enough to make you pay if you don't stay disciplined in your rush lanes. And so it's ways for us to continue to attack protections and to continue to, whether that's with four-man pressures or with our blitzes and create overloads and try to do those kind of things, which is what we try to do each week and get a beat on that. And so it's a never-ending process, and to me I think for me, when I think about defensively, I like, hey, I'm going to score on defense. Yeah, get those interceptions and go score, and just create that momentum that kind of play, creates for your team. And even, talking to the guy when they got those interceptions, hey, right now, that's a great job getting the pick, great pressure. Okay, now you get that interception. Go be a lot of these guys played running back in high school or receiver in high school. Go be an offensive guy once you make that pick and go score the football. So we'll work hard on that as well. How we attack that and everything. So I just think it's a never-ending process of continuing to create pressure, and we need to get more sacks and more pressures, and that's the objective each and every week, and we gotta keep working hard at that.
Ohio State's averaging 49 points a game for the season. We saw Iowa put up 48 at Minnesota. You already touched on them expanding their offense passing game. Could you expound upon that a little bit? What have you seen from them that's a little bit different maybe in past years?
Yeah, this is going to be my first time playing against Iowa as a coach, and so I don't have any personal experience, but you obviously watch a lot of film and go through, and I just think that they utilize their tight ends extremely well. They catch a lot of balls. You look at the stats, and they lead their team in catches and really long, athletic, tough, and they put you in a lot of conflicts of run pass, so you get more play action, and they'll get in the gun and they'll spread it out, they'll go empty, and they'll do all those kinds of things, and they got a big, strong arm quarterback that can make all the throws. So because of that, they're still running the football, they're still establishing that like you'd expect them to, but they have the ability to spread you out. They can do it from both play action and just true what I would consider spread formations, and they have the flexibility and versatility with their personnel to get into those looks without having to change out and to get into 10 or 11 all the time. They do a lot of their double tight ends or, two tight ends and a fullback or however they choose to do so. But I just think like anybody else that has a very talented quarterback as a passer makes you more dangerous, and they obviously showed it last week, put up a lot of points, created a lot of takeaways defensively, which set up some of those scores, but at the same time, they faked a field goal, on one of their touchdowns. And so I'm just doing a lot of different ways of creating that momentum for their team and scoring lots of points. So, that's a ton of points in a Big Ten game. And so it's, adds to the challenge of defeating this team.
Now that you're at the midway point of the season, what's your assessment of the true freshmen that have played? Obviously, several of those young guys have been out there for you.
Yeah, as a collective group, you have to be pleased, and when you see their production, Cam Jones got another fumble recovery. It's the second takeaway of the season, and continue to see those young guys be productive. And Stevie Scott has, did some good things, and just continue to allow them to grow and develop, and they're helping us on special teams, and they're helping us on defense. And I still go out there, I freeze our film, and we said yesterday, man, we're awful young out there at times, and it's just part of it. And those guys are, they're growing up, and they've already played a lot of football at this point. So, I think the assessment is it's a really good class, and they've proven that on the field. And there's a lot more really good players that haven't even played yet. That I think we're going to be really, really big part of this program before it's all said and done. It may be as soon as next season. So, but just really, and it's not just a good group athletically. They're really quality young men, taking care of business in the classroom, working hard. Weight room staff loves them, loves their mindset, loves their work ethic, loves just the way they handle themselves. I talked to Jeff a lot about how they handle themselves with the media, and just being, sharp guys, and that's what you want to recruit. And guys are going to represent us in a first-class way in all that they do on and off the field. And you ever have to bring them in, encourage them, because everybody needs that a little bit. And those are things that are part of it. But it's just a really good group of young men and a lot of really good football players.
You mentioned Cam Jones. Did you expect him to have the role he has now coming into the season?
Well, you hoped he would. We challenged him with that. We knew where we kind of thought we could see him playing when we recruited him. I always saw him as a guy that could play that Husky spot, a big athlete. He played wide receiver. Matter of fact, you may not know this, but when he actually committed to us and then decommitted and then recommitted, right? Well, when he committed the first time, he committed as a wide receiver. And so that's how we were recruiting him. He was playing wide receiver on his high school team. He played defensive end as well. Played a little bit of, moving around linebacker, played wildcat quarterback. So he was just like one of those guys where he's a big athlete that can run. And so, but I always saw him as a, man, I saw enough film. Hey, this guy's guy, he's going to be a defensive guy. And so with his athleticism and his length and his size and all, I just thought, he's going to be a perfect Husky for us, and so with that being said, what you don't know is how's he going to be in man coverage, and covering, guys at this level. And so that's the part that's really been encouraging to me. And so to answer your question, yes, I believed he was going to be a really special player. Does that happen right away? Not always, so to his credit and to his focus and I think he's got a great future ahead of him, and really pleased with his progress, and he's everything we hoped he would be. Yes.
I got you. I know recruiting-wise, you can't talk specifics, but last night, did you do any celebrating?
Quite a bit. Yeah, if you'd have been anywhere near this block, you'd have heard me screaming. So, for quite a bit. So.
With that, just with where you are now with the guys you got and you know the final few months of putting this class together, how do you size up the guys you already have in the mix, and where do you kind of go from here with the last few remaining spots?
Yeah, you're always, we tell our team, we tell our coach, it's always about recruiting. And we can't talk about players and everything and names or anything, but that's a huge part of our program, and we talked about it ever since I've taken over, and we put all our energy into the class we just got done discussing that's here now, and so once that class was secured and all, we put all of our attention on the next class, and then that'll continue on and on and on. And it's about building relationships and selling the vision of what we're building on the field, and you want them to see it. And that's the thing. I think, guys, they watch games too, and they see the progress. They see how hard our kids play. They see how we compete. They see how much we play hard for each other. It's hard not to notice that. And they see where we are, against the best of the best, So I just think that's, the facilities we're building, the things that we're investing in our program, and the ability for us to get guys on campus and invest in them and grow those relationships, and for me to be able to continue to expand on the relationships I have in state here. Know a lot of these coaches extremely well, and they believe in what we're building here and the way we're building it, and they trust the kind of men that they're going to be around, that they're going to be developed first and foremost as a man, and the way that they're going to be modeled and mentored and loved and cared for, and yet challenged and held accountable and held to a high standard. And that combination, that blend is really what I think makes us unique and special. And then the chance to get a world-class education at Indiana is big time here, and then the chance to play in the best conference in college football on a national stage is all a kid could ask for, So I want to be able to know that a guy can come here and reach all of his dreams. So that's the message we're sending, and but that's has to be backed up by how you perform and how you show progress, and that's what we're doing, and that's what they're seeing. So we just got to keep building, keep moving, keep focused on the task at hand, and don't look to the left or to the right. Look straight ahead.
And talk about the freshmen again. I mean, we're halfway through the season. You got the 4-game redshirt option for guys. I mean, I look at a guy like Michael Penix has only played twice now through 6 games. Is that shaking out well for you? I know circumstances can always change, but how is that shaking out for you? I mean, not just in his case, but generally.
Yeah, I think in general, there's several guys we're still having a lot of conversations about, and you get to the window where you say, okay, we got these 4 opportunities, and we got some guys we're now saying, hey, they're starting to physically get to the point now where we got some guys, some special teams reps today for that very purpose, to position them to be able to play here in the last part of the season. And a guy like Michael Penix, who's already played 2, and there's been some other guys in a similar situation. And so we're going to guard those carefully. I think it's a very wise on our part to be very judicious about those quarters and the time that they're going to play, and to be able to invest a full year in a guy. I want to make it worth it, And so I would say at this point, the plan would be, you'd like to be able to maximize, unless the guy's going to be playing the majority of the time, the rest half of the season, you'd like to be able to save a full year of eligibility, if at all possible. Doesn't always work out that way, and you have to make adjustments on the fly, and we will. But we try to communicate very openly and honestly with our guys about the plan. And I think most guys, they may not always like everything that they hear, but they will understand it, and they will be more inclined to accept it if you communicate clearly to them. And I think that's a key thing that you have to do, and I think our guys, respond to that. So it's still an ongoing thing, and we will keep working our way towards that end. And the bowl game is still the same. That's the 13th game, and that's counts as one of those 4. So those are all parts of the equation you're trying to get yourself in position for.
Coach, obviously you had a few guys shaking up, going in, Luke and Wap and Jacob, and then a couple guys, Coy and Devin Matthews. Any updates or any?
None specifically. My hope and intent is that the majority of those guys will be back. I feel good about the progress we're making from the guys that got dinged up during the game, and then the guys that were out the week before, to be able to continually work them back in the fold, and they're just working, as much as they possibly can with our training staff and maximizing the rehab time that we have and all the resources and facilities we have here for that. So feel good about several of them. but I won't know for sure for probably a couple more days, and then we'll just have to assess it from there and make adjustments on the hoof.
If you'll forgive the redundancy, too, any further update to Morgan's status? I know we found out last week he's been practicing.
Yeah, there's no additional update on him, no.
Just somebody mentioned Coy. The average left tackle doesn't make that play.
No.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, Coy, he's not wired like everybody else. And so, you know, he played defense in high school, played middle linebacker, was a catcher, you know, was just an athlete, you know, playing ball. And, you know, has a defensive mentality. He could play defensive line for us and do really, really well, you know. So, I mean, just instincts kicked in, you know, and so that guy headed on the sideline and he wasn't going to let him score. So you got to love that. It's awesome.
If I could double back to recruiting real quick, are there any positions you guys are really identifying with these last few spots, or any sort of body types you guys are really looking for to close the class
I think
with?
you're always looking for as much length and size as we can get on the offensive defensive line. And then the receiver position to me is a big deal. You know, we're really emphasizing that, and you know, got some guys that'll be moving on, and just got to continue to get our numbers right at that position. And so I take those would be the two key thoughts there. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Elio.